Gen Z has a really bad reputation of being this entitled, lazy generation. So can you blame the employers? But then again, like that's crazy
That's
to me.
nothing.
That is crazy
It's
to me.
getting more and more. There's a lot more automation. But here, what your father told you.
Probably cheaper too.
Yeah, but what your father, of course, and it will work 24 hours.
Right.
Your father told you something that, I don't know if he didn't tell you this, but we are printing money. The value, since I was born in 1970, the value of money has gone down specifically because it's not backed by the gold standard.
Right.
So we are printing money. I mean, we just.
But it's not solving the inflation
No, it is
problems,
not
right?
at all.
So it's
it's
not a solution.
devaluing our currency
And then
every
obviously
day.
we saw during COVID, 40% of the money that's ever been printed in this country's history was printed
And like
in
4 years,
2020.
in the last 4 years.
Okay, and we've seen what's happened with inflation. And
No
it's
more
the
99
same
cent
people
pizza.
that were collecting them stimmy checks are the same people saying, yeah, I can't afford anything these days. Are you putting the correlation together? Here's my challenge to anybody else out there. We're seeing what's going on with AI. We're seeing what's going on with ChatGPT. We're seeing what's happening with automation, with technology. You know, Andrew Yang got famous for making UBI sort of like a cool thing, universal basic
Gonna
income.
have to happen.
Printing money, UBI, free money, will lead to higher inflation, destruction of our country, destruction of these cities. It's not a cure-all.
But
it's
the
not
issue
gonna
isn't
happen.
the issue isn't inflation by itself. The issue is decreased pay power for consumers. That's the problem, right? Like if bread is worth $5, but everyone all has $15, that's not the concern. The concern is paying power. So the issue with inflation inflation is amazing for debt, by the way. Inflation is the best way to basically finance. This is what I'm sure you know. Most business guys are constantly moving debt around, and because debt is always decreasing in value.
Restructuring their debt, yes.
Yeah, absolutely, right? And so it's not just, inflation is a problem, and I definitely would be the first to like lobby. I have serious criticisms for the way that the banks feel comfortable like managing things. But I think we have to be really careful to not like toss the baby out with the bathwater when we talk about these issues, right? Like automation is going to replace a lot of jobs, but that's going to happen whether Gen Z is like lazy or not. Another problem is that, to be honest, most people like, have you ever worked for Walmart? They suck. They're awful to work for. They don't care about you. You're a number. You barely get benefits. You can barely afford to buy the shit at Walmart. And so it's like, it's not as simple as just lazy Gen Zers or people just need to get better at working or inflation is just really bad. It's more complex than this. I went from living on like 40K a year with me and my husband to now I'm making about 98K, and it is wild how much money all of a sudden I feel like I have. And the lack of like the amount of greed that like the upper like 0.001% has is concerning, even though, just to be clear, they're also the founders of almost all of the economy, almost all of the jobs. This is also true. And so it's so much more complicated than that of just like, it's like rich people bad, which is like what my side wants to say. It's like, well, of course not. They're literally the reason you have jobs. But also, rich people are a little cringe sometimes. But also, workers are kind of lazy sometimes, and we don't want to hire them. And also, like, a beat in India is going to be cheaper services than you, and we don't have to deal with your stupid attitude, right? all of these things are true. And
Kayla,
so,
you
yeah.
sound...
Kyla.
You're good.
You sound like a conservative.
No,
Do
she
I?
doesn't.
I don't know why.
She sounds like a woman who just thinks.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's what she sounds like.
Just to be clear, I think rich people are kind of cringe and bad sometimes. I think people are super selfish, but I also think poor people are rich.
Do you want to be rich?
No, I want
You
to.
don't want to be rich?
No.
Why don't you want to be rich?
So I want.
Why are you working? Why are you saving money? Why are you investing?
Do you want to know the real reason?
Yes.
I would like to buy land to run a treatment center for boys leaving jail, because halfway houses tend to be really low in success rates, and there are specific dynamic factors that have been researched that can shift the recidivism rates for these individuals, and I want to start a program
Do you know
that
what
does
would
that.
help you do that?
Money.
Money?
So the issue,
An investor?
being rich by
Capital?
itself isn't bad. I'm not opposed to that. The problem
But you
is
just said, Kyla,
She's the,
that you don't want to be rich.
I don't actually care about being rich. I care about having enough money to sustain this. Because to me, like, rich is different, right? When I say I don't want to be rich, I mean, I don't care about pursuing money for the sake of pursuing money. I don't care about any of that. What do I want in my life? To help others, to be happy, to have a good life with my husband, to have my dogs and my horses and babies eventually, and to like do as much as I can to make my community a better place. And I realize that money is the medium by which I will achieve that. But I don't want to grow wealth for wealth's sake, which is absolutely what is happening at the highest level.
Have you ever worked for a nonprofit?
Yes, most
Okay.
of my life.
So what'd you do for a nonprofit?
I worked 10 years for a at-risk youth camp, taking like homeless and foster kids, and we ran programs for them for free. And then I worked at a homeless shelter, and then I worked at a nonprofit addiction center for treating
So
women.
you have empathy. That's clearly what your thing is. But do you know the?
Can I just chime in with each
yeah.
thing she says? I feel like a bigger piece of shit. It's just the
We all do,
noble.
Jamie.
She wants to help homeless kids
Yeah.
who are sons of crackheads who are gluten free. Like
Yeah,
this is
especially the gluten-free
With
product.
peanut butter
Yeah, and
allergies.
I'm
We're gonna
like,
grow our own weed,
I'm
okay?
like, how do you get a yacht?
I'd like to add.
The reason I ask you about the nonprofit
Beautiful.
is because they're constantly trying to raise money. They're
Their
constantly
overheads are
There's
wild.
a
trying
little-
to raise capital.
There is a little.
I don't want to run a nonprofit.
I fuck with charities, but I look into them now because there's like. When I learned you only have to
Super
give
wasteful.
2% to the
Yeah.
charity and 98 can go to the people, I was like, oh,
I found this out about a lot of Jewish
There's
What
an
did you find
amazing
out?
organization that tracks
they
that,
have like
actually.
a
Hold on,
$20
go
million
ahead.
Yeah.
overhead, and I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
So the money's not all going to the
Yes.
victims of the families, and they're like, no, like 10% of it is.
I agree with what you're saying, and I think that we have to look at if you believe in the theory that 150 people kind of run and own the world. There's only like 258 billionaires, and if you look at BlackRock owns a piece of both sides, State Street, Vanguard. So
The World Economic Forum, these guys.
So, but okay, you come from a place that I'm very familiar with, where they have something called the dole, which is a very
Australia.
which is a very helpful thing when you get out of college. You're learning it.
Helpful.
So, if you don't think that Jeff Bezos and different people are going to own more of the world, you're just fooling yourself. And what I believe you're saying is, if you earned it and you did it, God bless you. I have no problem with that. But don't hoard the wealth. You know what I'm saying?
Well-
We should have programs.
But how do you know that they're not?
I have to tell you,
I don't know. But what I'm saying is, you have to have people like, Kayla. I'm so sorry.
Kyla.
To be in there to keep them honest.
Look, I want to just give you the last point. I know you
Because I
said
believe
last
in
word.
capitalism, but I also believe that we have to help those less fortunate.
Well, I want to tell you something. I don't know like a ton of billionaires, but just by coincidence, I've met a lot, and they happen to be, and I'm not talking about one or two or three, the most giving
Yes.
to charity, like numbers that you cannot dream of.
Yeah.
Often,
I meet
yeah.
billionaires, and I'm like, you know what? They deserve every penny they have because the amount they give back to the
Yes.
community.
Well, like
and it's
criticism
not
is,
enough.
do they need to live in $54 million homes?
But they
So
earned
why
it.
can't
so why
they? They
not?
earned it.
So
though.
the issue is they can, but I'm not going to sit here and guzzle your dick and pretend like you're a really good person because you got $8 billion and
don't
you
have to.
Yeah,
donated
but you're
2
only
million
looking
of
at
it.
the end
I'm
result.
not interested in that.
But hold on. The question is, how many other people did they employ, give jobs,
I already
make
granted you that.
millionaires?
I already granted you that.
Okay, but my point is, you're looking at the house and being like, do you really need a house that big? How many jobs did he create?
do you need
How many
to-
did for other people?
Yeah, but-
Here's where you're confusing, and I see what you're doing, and I appreciate you. Just because you're rich and wealthy doesn't mean you need to be a materialistic piece of shit.
Correct.
A lot, what Emily's talking about is the majority of rich people, and I live in this financial estate planning world, that's what I'm in, there's called philanthropy, and there's called legacy planning. Most of these people, and I would encourage young people to look into this, is it's not about driving the newest car, having the dopest kicks, or having the freshest gear, or eating the nicest restaurants. A lot of time, people want to make money to help causes they care about. It's leaving a legacy. So if you actually want to get money from these people, the people with the money, America gives more philanthropy than any other country. It's not even close. Talk about tithing and tzedakah. America's number one with that. Know that you want these people on your side. You don't want these really wealthy people that are really ready to cut you a check for $1 million or $1 billion, being like, oh, what's this girl say? No, her.
Yeah.
There's a difference between making money and doing something with it versus making money and just spending it lavishly. There's a difference. It's
agree.
not just, they got money and now they live in a penthouse and they're
I didn't say that though, right? I already said that they are the major stimulus for economies. They job basically the entire country. I've already granted those things. The issue is that it seems like there's a zeitgeist amongst the rich with like the wealth divide right now. The fact that like inflation's going up and The main motive at this point is to just further decrease paying power of consumers is really strange. I don't really know why this needs to happen.
Kyla,
I don't know why
how
we need to
familiar-
short businesses
Not to
at
cut you
all.
off, because we're going to go to the
Yeah.
next segment. We're going to talk about your city, New York. Because how familiar are you with the Billionaires Pledge?
I'm not.
Oh, Billionaires Pledge. Google it, Malik. So Warren Buffett, Mark Zuckerberg, and we'll find out who's on this list. All the richest people in America and around the world have pledged, Mackenzie Bezos, have pledged to give 90+% of their wealth to the people, to the charity. The Giving Pledge is a charitable pledge campaign founded by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett to encourage wealthy people to contribute a majority, i.e. more than 50% of their wealth to philanthropic causes. As of June 22, the pledge has had 236 signatures from 28 countries. This is what you're missing. These people who are worth $100 billion, I think Warren Buffett is worth $100 billion, Gates probably $150 billion, whatever it is. You know, the number one in the world is right now is between Elon Musk and Bernard Arnault, each $200 billion. These are the people with this Giving Pledge, this Billionaire Pledge, that will change the world dramatically. And those are the rich people you're talking shit about, Kyla.
See, this is the issue. I don't know how you could possibly take any of my statements as talking shit about these people. I've already said that they stimulate our economy. I've already agreed that most of them are not bad people. And I've already agreed that they're essential to jobbing basically all of us. I've said that there is a zeitgeist amongst the rich that seems to be, maybe not all of them, seems like Bill Gates is awesome. In fact, Bill Gates has a really established track record of being pretty awesome. But there is absolutely a zeitgeist among wealthy people that are aimed at growing wealth for growing wealth's sake.
Well, Kyle, you know what it is? Maybe I'm not smart enough to know what zeitgeist means. You said it multiple times.